Desde la Universidad Militar Nueva Granada, en Bogotá, Colombia, transmite 𝗚𝗲𝗏𝗃 Radio. 𝗚𝗲𝗏 Radio. Una emisora alternativa, cultural e independiente. Desde la Universidad Militar Nueva Granada. Esta es 𝗚𝗲𝗏 Radio.
Tune in and speak up. Hello, English learners. Want to learn something interesting whilst having fun? Welcome to Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast where you'll get to know this beautiful language in depth. Each week, we'll dive into exciting topics, share practical tips, and tell you fascinating English language stories. So whether you're studying, going to work, or just relaxing, connect, listen, and let's make English part of your world. Wherever you are, whenever you want, just hit play, tune in and listen up. Tune in to 𝗚𝗲𝗏𝗃 Radio every Tuesday from 11 a.m. till noon. Don't just learn English, live it.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast from Universidad Militar, Nueva, Granada, where we explore curious stories, surprising facts, and cultural insights from around the world, all through the lens of English learning. This is the podcast where unusual events from history and culture become your classroom for English practice. I'm Jorge Bermúdez, teacher of English at the Department of Multicultural Studies at 𝗚𝗲𝗏𝗃, part of the School of Education and Humanities. I'll be your guide through some of the most unusual and thought-provoking topics, from surprising historical connections to forgotten inventions and strange scientific discoveries. Whether you're learning English as a second language or just love learning something new, this podcast is for you. Ready to improve your listening skills, expand your vocabulary, and engage in meaningful conversations? Then grab your headphones, tune in, and let's speak up. Okay, today our story behind Bluetooth. Okay, this information is based on Bluetooth's official website, historical and technical sources, including National Geographic, Britannica Encyclopedia, The Collector website, Wired, and others. Okay, so let's go. Introduction. Today's episode is one of my favorite kinds. A surprising connection between ancient history and modern technology. We're going to travel more than 1,000 years back in time to discover how a Viking king from the 10th century gave his name and even inspired the logo for one of today's most familiar technologies, Bluetooth. Think about it. You probably use Bluetooth every single day. Maybe you listen to music on wireless headphones, connect your phone to your car, share photos or files between devices, or use a wireless keyboard or mouse for your computer. Bluetooth is everywhere. It's a quiet helper that connects our devices without us even thinking about it. But have you ever stopped to wonder where the name comes from? Bluetooth sounds unusual for a piece of modern technology. It doesn't sound scientific or futuristic at all. In fact, it sounds like something from an old legend or fairy tale. So why would engineers name a high-tech wireless standard after a Viking with a strange nickname? And what could a man who lived over 1,000 years ago possibly have to do with your smartphone or your earbuds? As it turns out, the story behind Bluetooth is full of symbolism, creativity, and a touch of humor. It's a story where history meets innovation and where ancient runes and modern circuits share the same meaning: connection. In this episode, we'll explore that story in detail. So, as we see in the slide, here's what's coming up. 1. Meet King Harald 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. A real Viking ruler who played a key role in uniting parts of Scandinavia, and find out why he had such an unusual nickname. 2. Discover how a group of engineers in the 1990s borrowed his name and legacy when creating a revolutionary new wireless communication standard. 3. Understand how Bluetooth technology actually works, explained in simple, clear language. And 4. Learn and practice essential vocabulary about technology, vocabulary you can use to talk or teach about technology and communication. By the end of this episode, you'll not only know the fascinating historical origins of Bluetooth, but also feel more confident using English for technology-related topics, a valuable skill in today's connected world. So get comfortable, adjust your volume, and imagine yourself sailing across the cold northern seas to a time of runes, kings, and gray ships, because that's where the story of Bluetooth truly begins. Okay, let's go to part 1. Who was Harald Gormson? Harald Gormson, better known by his legendary nickname Harald Bluetooth, was a king of Denmark from around 958 to 986 Common Era. Some historical sources also describe him as the ruler of parts of Norway, which he brought under his influence during his reign. He was born into a royal Viking family, the son of King Gorm the Old and Queen Thyra, two of the earliest recognized monarchs in Danish history. His father, Gorm, was known for defending Danish independence, while his mother, Thyra, was famous for her wisdom and strength, often called Thyra Danebod, meaning Thyra the Pride of Denmark. Harald inherited both of their qualities, his father's determination and his mother's vision for a stronger, more united land. When Harald came to power, Scandinavia was not a peaceful or unified region. It was a collection of tribes and small kingdoms, often in conflict with one another. Raids, rivalries, and local wars were common. People followed Norse paganism, worshipping gods like Odin and Thor. Harald faced the enormous challenge of bringing stability and unity to a territory that was divided by politics, religion, and geography. Okay, so Harald's achievements, a king of unity and change. Harald is remembered in history for two major achievements that changed the future of Denmark and later inspired his unusual connection to technology. The first achievement, unifying territories. Harald is often credited with uniting Denmark and parts of Norway into one kingdom. Before his reign, these lands were separate and frequently at war. Through a combination of military strength, diplomacy, and strategic marriages, Harald this unification made Denmark stronger and more organized than ever before. For the first time, the idea of a Danish nation began to take shape, and Harald became known as a leader who could bring people together, a theme that centuries later would symbolically reappear in the world of Bluetooth technology. The second one of his achievement was the Christianization of Denmark. His second major accomplishment, as I was saying, was his conversion to Christianity and his efforts to spread the new faith across his kingdom. According to historical accounts, Harald was baptized, possibly by a German missionary named 𝗂𝗂𝗹, and soon began encouraging his people to abandon the old Norse gods and accept Christianity. This transition was not easy. For centuries, Norse beliefs had been central to Viking identity. Yet Harald's decision marked a turning point. Churches were built, crosses replaced all symbols, and Christianity slowly took root across the region. By promoting this new religion, Harald helped integrate Denmark into the broader Christian world of medieval Europe, connecting it more closely to neighboring countries and trade networks. These two actions, unifying people and connecting them through a common belief system, would centuries later become the metaphor behind the modern technology that bears his name. Then we have a lasting mark, the Jelling stones. To make sure his achievements would be remembered, Harald commissioned the creation of two enormous runic stones in the town of Jelling, Denmark. These stones are often called the Jelling stones, and they are considered some of the most important monuments in Danish history. If you check Wikipedia, you can see images of these stones. Beautiful, big, carved with their alphabet, with runes. And we can see a Christ, a crucified Christ. And on the other side, you can see a lion and a snake in some kind of fight, full of color and beautiful. One stone raised earlier by Harald's father honors Queen Thyra. The second, the larger and more famous one, was ordered by Harald himself. Its runic inscription proudly declares that, quote, King Harald made these monuments in memory of Gorm, his father, and Thyra, his mother, the Harald who won all of Denmark and Norway and made the Danes Christian, unquote. These stones are more than just decorations. They are records of history carved in stone, telling the story of a time when Denmark was transforming, politically, culturally, and spiritually. In fact, the larger Jelling stone is sometimes called Denmark's birth certificate, because it marks the moment when the Danish people began to think of themselves as one nation. Even today, the Jelling stones remain a UNESCO World Heritage Site, visited by thousands of people every year. Their carvings, including intricate animals, interlaced patterns, and Christian symbols, serve as a bridge between the old Viking traditions and the new Christian era that Harald helped create. And the last one of his accomplishments as a symbol of connection. When we think about Harald Bluetooth today, we remember him as a symbol of connection and unification. He brought tribes together, connected people under one faith, and left behind a lasting message carved in stone. It's not coincidence that more than 1,000 years later, engineers would look back to his Viking king when researching for a name to describe a new technology that connects and unites devices. But before we get there, before we jump to the 10th century, from the 10th century to the 1990s, let's explore how this mysterious nickname, Bluetooth, came to be and why it still captures people's imagination. Okay, let's go to part 2. Why Bluetooth? Later, it didn't change. Okay, why Bluetooth? The origin of the name. It may sound strange that a 10th century Viking king inspired the name of a 21st century wireless technology. But the story behind it is one of creativity, symbolism, and a touch of humor. In the 1990s, as computers, cell phones, and other digital devices began to evolve rapidly, technology, technology companies faced a challenge. Every company was developing its own short range wireless communication systems, but none of them could talk to one another. Intel, Ericsson, Nokia, and IBM were all working on separate solutions to connect devices like laptops, phones, and headsets without using cable. In 1996, these companies began collaborating to create a universal standard, a single technology that could unite all their systems. During one of their informal meetings in Toronto, a member of Intel's team, Jim Kardak, suggested a temporary code name for the project, Bluetooth. The name, he explained, came from the Viking king Harald Bluetooth, who had united Denmark and Norway, just as this new technology aimed to unite computers and phones through wireless communication. Everyone liked the name. It was simple, memorable, and symbolically perfect. Even though it was meant to be a placeholder, Bluetooth eventually became the official name of the technology itself. So then we have this question, why Harald was called Bluetooth? But where did Harald get that unusual nickname? The origin of Bluetooth, or Latin in Old Norse, is somewhat mysterious. Historians are not entirely sure why he was called that, but there are a few theories. One explanation is literal. Harold may have had a dark or decayed tooth, possibly appearing blue in color, leading people to call him Bluetooth. This kind of nickname would have been typical in the Viking era, where physical traits often inspired descriptive names. Another theory is more symbolic. Some scholars believe blue could have referred to dark complexion or clothing, or even to a royal or noble status, since blue was a rare and valuable color in the early medieval world. Still, the simplest interpretation, the king with the blue tooth, remains the most widely accepted. Whatever the exact reason, Carol's nickname survived for over 1,000 years, eventually finding a completely new meaning in the digital age. Okay, and this takes us to the question how the Bluetooth logo was created. When the developers decided to use the name Bluetooth officially, they wanted a logo that would pay tribute to its Viking roots. Instead of a simple symbol or letter, they turned to ancient runes, the alphabet used by the Norse people. The Bluetooth logo is actually a combination of two runes, as we can see in the slide. The first one means Hagal, representing the letter H for Harold, and the next one is read Bjarkan, I believe, representing the letter B for Bluetooth. When these two runes are merged together, they form the familiar Bluetooth symbol we see on phones, computers, and headphones today. It's a clever fusion of history and technology, perfectly reflecting how a 1,000-year-old story continues to connect people in the modern world. Many users never realize that the small icon on their screen is not just a tech logo, it's a Viking monogram, a mark of communication and unity dating back to the 10th century. A Viking spirit in modern technology. The comparison between King Harold Bluetooth and Bluetooth technology goes beyond a simple name. Both are symbols of connection and integration. Harold connected tribes and territories under one kingdom and one faith, creating unity in a fragmented world. In a similar way, Bluetooth technology was created to connect different devices, phones, laptops, keyboards, speakers, regardless of brand or model. It brought together systems that previously couldn't speak to each other. This metaphorical connection is what made the name so powerful. The inventors of Bluetooth weren't just looking for something catchy. They wanted a name that represented communication, harmony, and bridging gaps. Harold Bluetooth embodied all of these ideas even a millennium before wireless technology existed. According to 𝗰𝗂𝗿𝗃, the Intel engineer who coined the term, the inspiration came partly from a book he was reading at the time, The Long Ships by Swedish author Frans G. Bengtsson, a historical novel about Viking adventures. Kardec later said, quote, King Harold Bluetooth was famous for uniting Scandinavia just as we intend to unite computers and mobile devices. Unquote. Okay, so from a medieval king to everyday life. What's remarkable is how this ancient name now appears millions of times a day. Every time someone connects their headphones, transfers a file, or pairs a device. Few people stop to think that the word Bluetooth hides a story of a Viking king, a technological revolution, and the enduring human desire to connect. In a way, Harold Bluetooth has achieved a kind of immortality. His efforts to unite his people are echoed in how Bluetooth technology unites our devices. The fact that a single symbol, two Old Norse runes, appears on smartphones around the globe is a perfect example of how history and innovation can intertwine. From the carved runes on the gelling stones to the glowing icon on your phone, the same idea persists across 1,000 years. Communication brings people together. Okay, and Harold's legacy. Harold's reign ended in conflict, especially with his son, Sweyn Forkbeard, who eventually challenged him and assumed power. Historians use various sources, sagas, chronicles, runic inscriptions, to piece together his actions and intentions. The gelling stones remain a major historical artifact of his rule. Because Harold is viewed as a unifier, someone who brought together regions and faiths, his name and image lend themselves to symbolic use centuries later. That's where the tech story begins, and that's his legacy. Okay, let's talk about part 3, how Bluetooth technology works. Now that we know the story of the name and logo, let's talk about how Bluetooth works. What is Bluetooth? That's the first question. Bluetooth is a wireless communication standard used to connect devices over short distances. It replaces cables and allows devices to exchange data or audio easily. It operates on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency band, the same general radio frequency band used by Wi-Fi, microwave ovens, and many wireless devices. But Bluetooth uses it carefully, at low power to avoid interference. Because it's designed for short-range use, Bluetooth uses relatively low power, making it ideal for batteries and small devices. Let's talk about some key concepts: pairing, Piconets, and frequency hopping. To understand Bluetooth, here are some important ideas. Pairing. Before two devices communicate, they pair. They exchange a small code or key to establish trust. After pairing, they can reconnect more easily. Piconet. A Bluetooth network of devices is often called a piconet. One device becomes a master and others are slaves or peripherals. They synchronize with the master. Frequency hopping or jumping. Spread spectrum. Bluetooth avoids interference by rapidly changing, hopping, frequencies many times per second. That way, if one frequency is crowded, the signal shifts to a cleaner one. These techniques help Bluetooth maintain stable, reliable connections in environments with many devices. Let's talk about the evolution, different Bluetooth versions. Bluetooth has evolved significantly since its early years. Some important milestones. Bluetooth 1.0 1999 is the earliest version, modest speed, basic functionality. Bluetooth 2.0 and 2.1 had improved speed and better reliability. The next evolution, Bluetooth 3.0, added features that allow larger file transfers, sometimes via Wi-Fi as a back channel. The next one, Bluetooth 4.0, introduced Bluetooth Low Energy, BLE, optimized for very low power devices like fitness trackers and other types of sensors. Bluetooth 5.0 and beyond, the current ones. Greater range, higher data rates, better interference resistance, newer features like direction finding, multi-device broadcasting, and more. Because of these advances, Bluetooth has become omnipresent in headphones, smart devices, speakers, automotive systems, medical devices, and more. Now, talking about the strengths and challenges. Strengths. One, low power, okay, good for battery operated devices. Two, ease of use. Pairing is relatively straightforward. Three, no need for wires. That means freedom to move. And four, ubiquity. Almost every modern device supports Bluetooth. Now, the challenges. One, range is limited, typically more or less 10 meters, but can be more with newer versions. Two, interference, because many devices share the 2.4 gigahertz band. Three, security. If pairing or encryption aren't done well, unwanted access can happen. And four, speed. While improving, Bluetooth is not suited for extremely high data demands, for example, high definition video streaming, compared to Wi-Fi or wired connections. Still, Bluetooth's design choices strike a balance between convenience, power, and compatibility. That's why it's become such a core technology in our daily lives. Okay, let's talk about the language and vocabulary focus for today's episode. Here we pause to focus on the language used, technical vocabulary, so you can use them confidently in speaking or writing. So as you can see, we have the three columns as usual: the term, the meaning and use, and a sample sentence. The first one, connectivity, meaning the state or ability of devices to connect. In a sentence, you can say something like, strong connectivity is essential for seamless file transfer. That's seamless meaning without interruption. The next one, protocol, meaning a set of rules for data exchange. In a sentence, you can say Bluetooth is a communication protocol for short distance devices. The next one, number three, pairing, meaning the process of linking devices. In a sentence, you can use it as, after pairing, your phone and speaker will reconnect automatically. Number 4, interference, meaning disturbance from other signals. In a sample sentence, you can say, too many devices can cause interference in the 2.4 gigahertz band. Number 5, low energy, LE, meaning a low power Bluetooth mode. In a sentence, you can use it as, BLE saves battery on wearable devices. Remember, that's the Bluetooth low energy. That's what the BLE stands for. Okay, number 6, Piconet, a small Bluetooth network. In a sentence, we can say, your phone, watch, and earbuds may form a Piconet, all interconnected. Number 7, frequency hopping, meaning rapidly switching frequencies to avoid interference. In a sentence, you can say something like, Bluetooth uses frequency hopping to stay stable. Number 9, range, maximum effective distance. The typical range for Bluetooth is 10 meters, the range. And the last one, bind rune, a merged pair of runes. The Bluetooth logo is a bind, the combination is a bind rune of H and B. Okay, and that brings us to the end of today's fascinating journey. One that took us all the way from Viking Denmark to the world of modern wireless technology. We began, let's recap and remember, okay? We began by meeting King Harald Bluetooth Gormson, a powerful Viking ruler from over 1,000 years ago. We learned how he united the Danish tribes, strengthened his kingdom, and introduced a new religion to his people. We discovered the mystery behind his curious nickname, whether it came from a darkened tooth or simply served as a colorful Viking description. Whatever its true origin, that nickname would one day travel through time and become part of our everyday language. Then we jumped forward nearly a millennium to the 1990s when a group of innovative engineers faced a new kind of challenge. Instead of uniting warring tribes, they needed to unite competing technologies. Laptops, phones, and other devices all spoke different languages. The solution was a new wireless standard that could connect them all. And to represent that unity, they borrowed a name from history, Bluetooth. We explored how that decision wasn't random at all. Just like King Harald connected Scandinavia, Bluetooth technology connects our modern digital world. Even the logo itself, made from Viking runes, reminds us that every connection we make, whether between people or between devices, it starts with the same idea: communication. We also looked at how Bluetooth actually works, using short-range radio signals to exchange information without cables. We talked about its strengths, such as convenience, low power use, and universality, as well as its limitations, like limited distance and slower speeds compared to Wi-Fi. Most importantly, we practiced key vocabulary and connectors that help you describe technology, explain how it functions, and express cause and effects, skills that are essential for confident communication in English today. Now, the next time you pair your headphones, connect your phone to your car, or send a photo wirelessly, take a moment to remember the story behind that small blue icon on your screen. Behind it stands a Viking king, an ancient alphabet, and a group of creative engineers who saw the power of history as a bridge to the future. That tiny symbol, the Bluetooth logo, combines two ancient runes that once marked stones and monuments. Today, it marks digital connection, shared music, teamwork, and innovation. It's an example of how human stories never really disappear. They simply change form. The same curiosity and creativity that built ships and carved stones in the Viking Age now power the devices in your pocket. So as you go about your day, listening to music, joining a call, or sharing files, remember that you're part of a much larger story. You're using technology that celebrates unity across time and distance, from the wooden ships of the 10th century to the wireless world of the 21st century. In the end, Bluetooth isn't just a tool. It's a reminder that the human desire to connect, share, and communicate is timeless. Whether through runes carved in stone or signals sent through the air, connection is what defines us. Thank you so much for joining me today on Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast from Universidad Militar, Nueva, Granada. We hope you enjoyed our journey through the history behind Bluetooth. Don't forget to share it with your classmates, friends, or fellow English learners. This season, as we have mentioned before many times already, we'll continue exploring unusual but meaningful topics that show how language, history, and everyday life are deeply connected. If today's episode helped you learn something new or gave you a new perspective on culture and communication, then our mission is accomplished. If you'd like to share your thoughts, reflections, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Your ideas help us improve, and your voice helps shape future episodes. This podcast is for learners like you, curious, committed, and ready to take the next step. We'll be back next week with another topic that might surprise you, make you think, or spark a conversation in English. In the meantime, keep listening, keep practicing, and most of all, keep speaking up. Until next time, Leito, thank you very much. See you next week.
Lo que ocurre en la universidad, los acontecimientos y sus protagonistas están en 𝗚𝗲𝗄 Radio.
La Universidad Militar Nueva Granada presenta su nuevo programa académico, la licenciatura en Humanidades y Educación para la Paz, diseñado para formar líderes que construyan un país más justo, solidario y sostenible. Aquí no solo estudias, aquí conectas con ideas, personas y experiencias que te preparan para conectar con tu comunidad y el mundo.
Nuestro programa integra las humanidades, el arte, la sostenibilidad, una visión global, brindando a nuestros estudiantes las herramientas para comprender la realidad social y proponer soluciones innovadoras. Formamos profesionales que asumen el compromiso de construir paz, desde la educación y desde cualquier escenario en el que actúen.
Nuestra licenciatura ofrece un enfoque integral, donde los estudiantes no solo adquieren conocimientos académicos, sino también competencias humanas para liderar procesos de cambio social.
Queremos formar educadores capaces de impactar comunidades, generar diálogo, promover una cultura de paz en Colombia y el mundo.
Vivirás proyectos en comunidades, crearás soluciones innovadoras, trabajarás con personas de otras culturas y te convertirás en un agente de cambio donde más se necesita. Porque la paz se construye cada día y comienza contigo. Licenciatura en Humanidades y Educación para la Paz. El futuro se construye con conocimiento, compromiso y acción.
Tune in and speak up. Hello, English learners. Want to learn something interesting whilst having fun? Welcome to Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast where you'll get to know this beautiful language in depth. Each week, we'll dive into exciting topics, share practical tips, and tell you fascinating English language stories. So whether you're studying, going to work, or just relaxing, connect, listen, and let's make English part of your world. Wherever you are, whenever you want, just hit play, tune in and listen up. Tune in to 𝗚𝗲𝗍 Radio every Tuesday from 11 a.m. till noon. Don't just learn English, live it.